I agreed to play Kirby Superstar if my last video got 20 likes, which, at the time, was a fairly difficult goal for this channel. It got over 300 likes. I knew basically nothing about this game going into it, but I get it now. I see why this game was such a huge contender for the Super Nintendo. It's bright and colorful, it's got cool and unique character designs, but what I love about it most is it throws out a lot of conventions set by earlier Super Nintendo titles to give the game as much variety as possible. The main selling point of Kirby Superstar is that it's not just a game, it's 8 games in one. It's an interesting concept, having an anthology of smaller experiences rather than a single larger one like pretty much every other Super Nintendo game. It's basically the Pulp Fiction of video games.
I just want you to know how...
The game consists of 4 main platforming adventures and 5 alternate game modes. First, there's Samurai Kirby and Megaton Punch, which are both reaction time sort of minigames where all you have to do is press A at the right time to get the best score possible. These games are super simple, but they still feel extremely distinct, and the simplicity-fun balance makes them pretty addictive. The larger alternate game modes you start with are Gourmet Race, a game mode where you race King DGD while collecting as much food as you can while listening to some awesome music, and Great Cave Offensive, where you explore a massive cave to find 60 different treasures. It's also got some cool bosses. There's this one where you fight RPG-style enemies with a cool PC menu thing, and there's There's no story reason as to why Kirby's doing these things, and there's no thematic or gameplay system that ties them all together, but Kirby Superstar says there doesn't need to be, as long as the game is fun. The main selling point of the game are the 4 platforming adventures: Spring Breeze, Dynablade, Metanite's Revenge, and Milky Way Wishes. Even though they're all platforming story mode games, there's tons of variety everywhere you look. Spring Breeze is basically a shortened version of Kirby's Dream Land for the Game Boy, with 4 simple levels that serves as a nice introduction to the game, teaching you the basic platforming mechanics, as well as the main thing Kirby is known for, eating enemies and taking their power. In Kirby Superstar, you can also choose to give up your power to bring the enemy back, this time fighting on your side. It's a cool mechanic, and the enemy AI is surprisingly useful. Dynablade is a lot of the same, but now with a bit more story. Kirby is trying to stop Dynablade from destroying Dreamland's crops before the people starve. A little dark for a kid's game, I think. This game mode has 4 levels as well, but with 2 secret areas, a Mario-style world map, and a cute little ending cutscene. It turns out Dynablade was stealing the crops to feed her chicks, so Kirby teaches them how to eat Wispy Woods apples before they fly off with their mother. It's beautiful. Both Spring Breeze and Dynablade are super easy. I mean, anyone could beat them without much trouble. But if you want something a little more challenging, Kirby Superstar still has something for you. The next 2 platforming games are a little harder, but once you clear everything, you unlock the arena, where you need to fight every boss in the game with only a few healing items total. It's a massive jump in difficulty, and is a genuine challenge, up there with stuff like Donkey Kong Country 2. This game has variety everywhere. Even the difficulty has a huge amount of variety, especially if you consider the practically endless skill cap of reaching high scores in games like Gourmet Race, Samurai Kirby, or Megaton Punch. But the biggest source of variety from the majority of the game comes from the power-ups. I'm not going to talk about every single power-up. There are 24 of them, and they all have entirely unique movesets. But let me say, that variety is one of the biggest reasons I liked the game so much. One of the great things Kirby Superstar added to the franchise is all the different hats you get with the powers, which adds a nice visual element to distinguish the powers even further, and often include nods to other game franchises. Like the Fighter Power, which has a ton of different attacks and has a cool headband as a Street Fighter reference, or the Sword Power, which is a cool Zelda reference. There are these sleeping guys in the game, and if you copy their ability, you just fall asleep for a few seconds. It's stupid and it's funny, but it's the kind of thing that pretty much anyone who plays the game would see and react to. After clearing Dynablade, you unlock Revenge of Metanite, where you've got a time limit to destroy Metanite's flying ship before he uses it to take over Dreamland. One of the unique parts of this game mode is that the enemy characters are always talking while you're progressing through the levels, usually about how badly they don't want to fight Kirby. The dialogue is funny, and it's a cool way to develop these characters without taking you out of the action. Even Dynablade comes back to help you out. The levels also blend together here, making Revenge of Metanite feel like a single, long, but cohesive adventure. The coolest part about it, though, is the ending. Listen to this. The variety of Kirby Superstar, from its variety of game modes and power-ups to the variety of difficulty and story depth, all work together to make a game that feels as big and fun as possible. There's not a big overarching story or a clear logical progression from one game to the next, because the focus of Kirby Superstar isn't on being a game that's about any specific thing. It's about being a game that's fun. The final platforming adventure is also the longest, and probably my personal favorite, Milky Way Wishes. The big twist here is that you can no longer eat enemies to take their powers, and the different powers must be found through the world. But once you collect a power, you get to keep it forever, and you can activate it at any time throughout Milky Way Wishes. This game mode also has a free roaming kind of world map, where you can fly to any level you want in any order, which is not only exciting variety, but it also really makes sense for a game mode where you have to collect powers hidden throughout the levels. Milky Way Wishes also has the most interesting story in the game. So basically there's this jester guy who tells you that the sun and moon are fighting. I don't know what that means, but to stop them you have to go to 7 different planets to summon this giant cat thing that grants wishes. But then when you do that, the jester guy comes back and reveals that he tricked the sun and moon into fighting, and no clue how he pulled that one off. Then he wishes for world domination, so you have to go destroy the cat thing and then beat up the jester, and finally the sun and moon chill out. And they all live happily ever after. Subscribe.